There's been anger over the response to the summer riots, fury over the cutting of the winter fuel allowance for the vast majority of pensioners, unhappiness at the UK handing over control of the strategically important Chagos Islands, and of course the fallout from last month's budget is showing no signs of abating.
Starmer and his cronies hate Britain and are trying to destroy this great nation.
Blunder after blunder from this government. Keir Starmer is not a politician or a world statesman. Rachel Reeves is not an economist, and David Lammy isn't a diplomat.
Will Starmer be thrown out of the government in the next few months?
There's really nothing that Keir Starmer can do to build a bridge.
No, he needs to resign. He needs to resign before 4 years. I think he needs to resign in the next 3 months so that you can have another election.
We've elected bumbling amateurs for leaders, and the nation is headed towards a disaster.
What a difference 4.5 months make. The government's faced opposition on several fronts since winning that landslide victory in July's general election. Now, for different groups of voters, there's been anger over the response to the summer riots, fury over the cutting of the winter fuel allowance for the vast majority of pensioners, unhappiness at the UK handing over control of the strategically important Chagos Islands, and of course the fallout from last month's budget is showing no signs of abating.
In just 4 months, Starmer has managed to do what seemed impossible. Nobody imagined that the Labour Party would manage to outdo the mess that the Conservatives created. Really, it's phenomenal how Starmer managed to make a bad situation significantly worse. After countless chances given to Starmer and his government to reverse the horrible policies they enacted, the people have finally had enough. The British pub owner who started this petition has some scathing remarks for Starmer. This isn't just a regular petition, many big players are betting on it from all around the world, but sadly, it might prove to be useless.
With all of the issues I just mentioned, it's perhaps no surprise the petition calling for another general election has reached, I believe it's as I speak, about 2.6 million signatures, and it's growing. Yesterday, the Prime Minister appeared on ITV's This Morning, where he spoke with presenters Cat Deeley and Andy Peters, and at that point the petition was at just under about 2 million signatures, and Sir Keir Starmer gave this response.
I remind myself that very many people didn't vote Labour at the last election. I'm not surprised that many of them want a rerun. That isn't how our system works.
The rate at which the petition is gaining support is remarkable to say the least. Rarely have we seen such unity and coordinate among the British people since Brexit. The number of signatures are only growing by the minute, and it's already in the millions. This might just be the fastest growing petition in Britain's political history. Starmer expected this to happen, but he simply doesn't care. He knows that there's nothing the people can actually do to force him out of government, so he's ignoring the petition. Could there be a way to get another general election, or should we just give up and wait another 4 years?
Where did you get the idea from? What did you tap into, this level of dissatisfaction?
Not just people within the pub industry, just small businesses in general was extremely concerned about the way that the budget was rolled out, about the way it was lied to for him to get into power. And it was a bit of a collective really of opinions thinking, do you know what? Why should we sit back and take it? Why should we sit back and be lied to? So let's see how we can change it, basically.
Just an everyday common Brit who figured enough is enough and it's time to demand accountability. For many people, the budget seemed to be the final straw that finally pushed them over this edge. Starmer got the benefit of the doubt for far too long. This includes what he did to the pensioners, farmers, and small businesses. The people were willing to give Starmer a chance, but he bottled it horribly. Now we wait and see if Starmer caves into the pressure, considering he's getting blasted from all sides.
Other hand, at the Wagon and Horses pub, can you honestly say the Conservatives did a good job, Michael? Come on.
No, they didn't do a good job. But at the same time, did they do a terrible job? No. Starmer's been in for 5 months and he's doing a terrible job. So it has got worse and it will get worse. That's it. I was reading headlines yesterday and some people trying to give me some negative feedback online saying you've only given 5 months. Well, the budget that's been put in place is going to have a knock-on effect to next year, and it's not a case of 5 months, it's a case of looking into next year and seeing how tough times are going to get.
The Tories did not do a good job. That's the whole reason why Labour won the election to begin with. That and the dozens of false promises Starmer made. Starmer's doing a worse job than the previous government, and things only seem to be getting worse. The more you look into the figures behind it, the more you see why everyone's furious over Starmer's nonsense. Even the guy who started the petition knows the futility of it. Of course, it won't achieve what people want, but there was a hidden plan behind it and that has been successful.
obviously it's not going to get into Parliament. They're not going to discuss it. They're going to run away from this. So, but this has created a storm where people are showing how dissatisfied they are with what's going on at the moment.
So lastly, you're a realistic bloke, I can tell that. You want this to be a warning shot, effectively a call to arms for the government to listen to what regular folk are saying, Michael.
The fact that everyone is talking about Starmer's resignation is proof that the petition served its purpose. Almost everyone knew that Labour would run away from the petition and try to bury it. Not even the Parliament would dare to discuss it, but the real goal was to get people to raise their voices and express their dissatisfaction.
And I kept trying to explain, well, that's not how our system of parliamentary democracy works. We have a 5-year term and the Prime Minister can call an election at any time in that term. Now, of course, you can put pressure on a Prime Minister to call an early election, but it's very rare that that pressure is going to amount to a row of beans, because generally Prime Ministers want to stay in power for as long as they possibly can. Now, Rishi Sunak could have had another 4 months, but chose to go to have an election in July. Fat lot of good that did him.
The rules of this nation apply to everyone, even Starmer and his Labour Party. We can't force out a government just with a petition, but there are other ways to do it. And the petition is definitely having a huge effect. Either way, Starmer is here to stay for the entire 5-year term, and there's no way he'll allow another general election when he has such a huge majority. Think about it, Starmer won in a landslide victory. Sure, he bottled it right after, but why would he give away all that power so easily? So, are we stuck with this government? Believe it or not, there's a way to boot them out, and many people are planning on it.
You can't have a general election 4 months after Labour have won a massive landslide, albeit on a relatively small percentage share of the vote. So why are people calling for this? For a new general election? Well, it is because Keir Starmer has achieved something which I could never have thought possible. After 4 months, his government and he personally is as unpopular as the last Conservative government was and the last Conservative Prime Minister was.
Despite knowing the rules and that Starmer isn't stupid enough to hand away all that power, why are people still pushing the petition up? Part of it might just be to express their dissatisfaction and let their anger out. People seem to be venting out and letting the government know how mad they are, in hopes that Starmer will get a grip and set his act straight. Nobody expected Starmer to be this bad since everyone got fooled by his countless lies. The Labour manifesto looks like a joke now. What's interesting is that this is a global conspiracy against Starmer, and many big names, including Elon Musk, are trying to bring Starmer down.
Because, well, first of all, you referenced it there. I mean, 6.8 million people voted for the Conservatives at the last general election. If we look at those numbers alone, there's 6.8 million people who aren't happy with Labour being in power. There's also the fact that petition data shows that the locations of people who have signed this petition, many of them are from foreign countries. Having said all that, we know that Labour's polls have plummeted since they got into power.
The numbers are staggering, and the deeper you look, the more you find out that Starmer has made some huge enemies. The signatures on the petition are from all around the world, and Elon Musk is actively trying to boot Starmer out. Starmer has been messing with Musk and Trump for months now, and now they're taking revenge. The things that Starmer did to sabotage them makes it completely understandable for them to be so angry. On top of that, even the businesses are taking up arms against Starmer.
But there were business leaders there who were very upset. You know, one person said to me they felt the rug had been pulled from under them because they'd been told during the general election campaign and beforehand that Labour were on their side, and then they hiked up some taxes. There's farmers. We saw farmers demonstrating in Whitehall last week. One of the first things that Labour did when they got into power was cut winter fuel for millions of pensioners. There's various different things.
It's practically impossible to run a business under this new Labour government. Growth has been completely flat, and all the credit goes to Sir Keir. The hikes in national insurance coupled with outrageous new workers' rights have ruined any chance of making a profit for these businesses. They're mad, and that's just one demographic. Then there's the pensioners and the farmers who are up in arms, and all Starmer can do is run away like a rat.
But it is interesting, if you look at the poll ratings, if you look at those conversations, and you can kind of understand how this petition has got so much traction so quickly.
Is it true that Elon Musk started this petition?
It is not true that Elon Musk started this petition, but he has responded to it saying, wow, the people of Britain have had enough of a tyrannical police state. So he is still slightly stirring the pot from over in the US. Donald Trump aide Elon Musk, of course.
Elon Musk and Donald Trump are absolutely blasting Starmer over his failure of a government. They're calling for more support for the petition, and frankly, it's just embarrassing for Starmer to be publicly humiliated in front of the entire world like this. Reform UK is overjoyed over the fact that both the Tories and Labour Party are in shambles.
You are whistling in the wind. You do know that, don't you?
Why not? I mean, you've got to be ambitious in any walk of life here, you included. And so this is, so far, it is without question the fastest growing petition that I'm aware of, unless...
If Starmer had any sense, he'd take this very seriously. The petition is gaining tracking by the minute, and the ambition that Richard Tice is talking about is to throw Starmer out of government. It's not just a simple petition by the common Brit anyone, it has real political backing, and the support just keeps growing.
And I think what it is a sign of the rapid collapse in confidence in this government, and it's about creating pressure on the governing party. And in a sense, that is actually how our politics works, isn't it? In that the opposition parties and people who are not happy try to put pressure on the government to say, look, this isn't going very well. People are not very happy. Your ratings are plummeting. You need to think again on certain.
In just 4 months, Starmer went from a shining star to absolute rock bottom in the polls. His approval ratings are a joke, and so far he has done nothing to correct that. The pressure is mounting up, and that might be the final straw that leads to Starmer's collapse. Think about it. The more we express our disappointment, the more it'll scare Starmer into submission.
So the other thing that this does, Ian, is it triggers a debate because it's gone over 100,000 votes. It should trigger a debate in either the chamber itself or in Westminster Hall. And that's a sort of like would be a mini sort of just a confidence debate in how the government is doing.
The debate is already happening and Starmer is losing it horribly. It's gotten to a point where everything Starmer and his Labour gang does is immediately shunned and shot down by the entire nation. Just look at the recent budget Rachel Reeves dished out so proudly. It was attacked, exposed and gutted for being a miserable failure of a budget by every single person in this nation.
Well, this is the blunder budget. With everything that's going wrong, businesses are complaining, you've heard of just earlier, farmers, GPs, care providers, hospitality. Across the board, everybody is really struggling and growth is down, debt is up, CPI is up. So people are not very happy at all.
Name one person who's happy with the new blunder budget. Starmer has been exposed as a liar and a hypocrite for breaking every single manifesto pledge he made. Starmer's words are now worth nothing and he has lost all credibility as a leader. From the businessman to a humble farmer, all of them are furious and demanding his resignation. Even Elon Musk and his father, Errol Musk, are calling for Starmer to resign in incredibly harsh words.
I mean, they seem to have done a brilliant job in alienating all sorts of groups: pensioners, students, now farmers, and I could probably cite some more if I had my wits about me. But you do, I mean, this is not going to result in a general election, is it?
Of course we know that, Ian, but it is all part of, it's just different ways to create pressure, to create a sense of recognition amongst the governing party that maybe this is not going very well.
Yes, every single demographic hates Starmer, but will it actually lead to anything? The truth is, Reform UK knows that the petition won't do anything, but they have a bigger plan in the works. They're using the petition to get as many people to speak up against Starmer as possible. Once enough pressure has mounted up against Starmer, he's bound to crumble and have a mental breakdown.
The key thing is that the government listens to the fact that there are lots of different groups who are very, very unhappy with some of the big decisions they've made that I think are taking this country economically into a much worse place.
But they show no sign of making any meaningful U-turns on any of the issues that you've just outlined.
It's an economic disaster. Rachel Reeves and Starmer have brought the country to its knees. Our bills are going up, jobs are reducing, and inflation is going through the roof. All the while, Starmer refuses to reverse any of these decisions despite the backlash. Is that proof that Starmer is tone deaf, or does he simply not care about what people say?
So far, he and Rachel Reeves have shown no sign that they're going to bow to public opinion.
They haven't, but the data is starting to look very bad indeed. I mean, growth is flatlining, not what was forecast by the OBR. Debt is much higher. Debt figures out last week are much higher than the OBR was forecasting. Inflation is higher than the OBR was forecasting. And all of this data is looking bad.
Let's look at the facts here. The entire country is a mess, and if Starmer doesn't start listening soon, things can turn ugly really quickly. According to Errol Musk, Starmer is an utter disgrace to this country, and many people are inclined to agree.
And if he doesn't get things right, he'll be kicked out in 4 years' time. That's not really fascism.
Well, 4 years is a long time. No, I personally, England is a place that we see as a sort of parent country, We all come from England, really. Half the most famous people in the history of the world in the last few hundred years anyway, come from England. So, England is a beacon of what we consider to be good. And I've always considered to be good, on the side of right and all that sort of thing. And what Starmer has done is sort of spoiled that.
For all those saying we should just wait out the 4 years and then we'll have another election, Errol has a very clear message. Why wait 4 years for the nation to be utterly ruined if we can just raise our voices right now? The Musks have immense respect for this country and they're not willing to watch it burn under this government. There's a whole bundle of problems that they've pointed out, and Starmer is at the center of all of it.
So, the two-tier policing system is quite obvious. The craze to increase taxation in America, in the UK is obvious.
From your perspective, from your point of view, there's really nothing that Keir Starmer can do to build a bridge.
No, he needs to resign. He needs to resign before 4 years. I think he needs to resign in the next 3 months so that you can have another election. But okay. I would say that...
We've seen it so often that we've gotten used to it. The two-tier policing system, outrageous taxes, and the economic blunders that Starmer has been committing. He's riding roughshod over the working people, and it's about time people make their outrage heard. Is there no way left for Starmer other than resigning and running away? And why is the Musk family against him?
People have done, like Starmer sent 100 people from the government in England to support Harris's election campaign. That's crazy.
They were volunteers. He didn't send them, I don't think. They were volunteers.
Well, he shouldn't have allowed them to go because that's interfering in another country's elections.
Starmer tried interfering in the American elections and even sent 100 people to support Kamala Harris. Now that Trump and Elon have won, they're out for revenge. Starmer thought that he could carry out this smear campaign against Trump and go unpunished. That's either the height of naivety or stupidity.
The things that these people that he's put into cabinet posts have said about Trump are not gross. They are way beyond gross. So in the past, if somebody had said things like they've said about Trump, it would really be a dueling matter. So if somebody had said things like that a couple 150 years ago, they'd be challenged to a duel to the death because you can't say the things they've been saying.
It's not just Starmer either. His entire cabinet is filled with ideologically motivated people who have been throwing disgusting comments at Trump for months. This idiotic government will cost us our country by ruining relations with America, our greatest ally. They could have been mature or diplomatic about it, but we're stuck with this childish lot. It's like being governed by toddlers. No wonder people want them out, and the petition will probably keep gaining traction. If you think politicians are using harsh words against Starmer, wait till you hear what the common people have to say. It's an utter humiliation of Starmer from all sides.
I'm expecting blunder after blunder from this government. Right? Keir Starmer is not a politician or a world statesman. Rachel Reeves is not an economist, and David Lammy isn't a diplomat. So we're screwed, technically.
The word blunder has become synonymous with Starmer and his Labour gang. Brits are outraged over it, and Starmer is lucky that we're civilized people. If we weren't, people would have thrown him out the office weeks ago. The petition worked. The pressure has gotten so high for Starmer that the entire Labour Party is in crisis mode. They're trying to rebrand their entire party. That's how scared they are. Can they get away with it now that people know his true nature?
He's got no political nous. He's a liar. He made 10 pledges to become Labour leader, and he ditched every single one of them. Look it up.
I know, I've seen it. So you fundamentally, Sean, you don't trust him?
How shameful it is for a leader to be known as a liar. The pledges he made to win votes were nothing but a scam to fool everyone. Starmer and his gang manipulated the public to win votes, and now their true nature is exposed for all to see. Trusting Starmer at this point is like expecting a shark to treat us kindly.
But the gloom and... what's narrative and what's real? I think the gloom and doom is pretty real, isn't it? I mean, if you're if you're coming in saying not only have we got massive budgetary black holes, but we've got no growth, and you perform a budget that sees inflation stay higher for longer, interest rates stay higher for longer, that sees businesses cutting jobs and paying people less because they're being hammered for tax, that has absolutely no growth whatsoever, pretty much anemic growth, lower than the last lot we're able to deliver according to the OBR. What's to like?
Labour's excuses just make the whole thing worse. It's comical how they have the audacity to cry about budget black holes and then go ahead with a budget that is so vindictive and anti-growth. You'd think an enemy of Britain came up with it. Inflation is up, taxes are up, growth is in the gutter, and soon enough the entire Labour Party will be there too. Starmer's done and dusted, and just like the people who signed the petition, you need to raise your voice too. Like this video and subscribe to the channel to let the government know that you've had enough.